Warning: the Not Real Art podcast is intended for creative audiences only. The Not Real Art podcast celebrates creativity and creative culture worldwide. It contains material that is fresh, fun, and inspiring and is not suitable for boring old art snobs. Now, let's get started and enjoy the show.
Greetings and salutations, my creative brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Not Real Art podcast, where we celebrate creative culture and the artists who make it. I'm your host, Sourdough. My co-host, the one and only Man One, is on assignment. Boy, am I thrilled to tell you about today's guest. Not just because he's a great friend, but because when it comes to dope culture in LA, Javie Lopez has his finger on the pulse of what's going on. Once a writer back in the day, Javie turned his passion for graffiti art into an exciting company that supports graffiti artists and dope MCs too. His ubiquitous Graffiti The City hats are a must-have for any legit OG graffiti writer and are even featured in the gift shop at the Museum of Graffiti in Miami. And his new record label features exciting young talented MCs. Javie is the consummate multi-hyphenate. He's an artist, producer, DJ, videographer, director, designer, entrepreneur, husband, father. I could go on. I just love this guy. He's been a great friend to me over the years, and I know you're going to love his story too. But before I talk to Javie, I want to say thanks for tuning in to our 107th episode of the Not Real Art podcast. Be sure to like this episode and subscribe. Your likes and follows helps ensure you won't miss new shows. And it makes the algorithm gods happy, which helps us. So thanks for that. March is International Women's Month, and we're going to celebrate in a big way. To help us celebrate and honor the power of women, we have asked artist and friend Erin Yoshi to take over the podcast during the whole month of March. We're giving Erin complete control of the podcast, and I know it's going to be awesome. Erin's going to honor some amazing women in the arts and share some incredible stories with you. So heads up and stay tuned as we celebrate International Women's Month in March, with Erin Yoshi as your fearless host here at the Not Real Art podcast. Now, like I was saying, if you're down with graffiti art, you got to be down with today's guest, Javie Lopez, the founder of Graffiti The City. So without further ado, let's get into this and hear from the man himself. Javie Lopez, welcome to the Not Real Art podcast.
Yeah. What up, man?
Dude, it's good to see you, brother.
Likewise, brother. Likewise.
Man, you made time for us over here at the Not Real Art podcast. How many podcast interviews have you done?
Man, I don't remember. Maybe like two, maybe. Actually, there's not really that many interviews on me. Like, I don't really have a lot of interviews out there. But I would probably say maybe like two, like one or two.
Okay. So third time's a charm. We'll make this one count.
Yeah. They've all counted, but it's just like, this is a long time ago.
Indeed. Are you listening to podcasts? I mean, I know you're a busy man. Do you have time to listen to podcasts?
Yeah. You know what? I listen to, I know Be Real has this podcast and I do DJing over there. So, I see them doing the podcast. It's on YouTube and then they have the podcast, but I see them doing it. Shit's pretty funny. Joe Rogan, of course,
Of course.
I hear it every once in a while. What else? And shit, man. And this. Yeah.
There you go. Well, I mean, I meant what I said in terms of like, you're a busy man. I mean, it's hard to find the time. I mean, on one hand, you got a lot of going on. On the other hand, dude, there are so many podcasts out there. It's like, it's hard to keep up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there is. You know what? I always go on YouTube and I see podcasts also, like they're on YouTube and then I guess they do both. So every once in a while I'll run into something new, but there's a couple out there. I've been searching for like a good, that's what I'm kind of like, I'm always busy. So I don't really I don't know. It's kind of hard. Like maybe like at night when I'm done with everything, then I'll go and listen to some shit, try to find something. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I wish I could, like while I'm working, editing or something, I could just turn on the podcast, but then it's like, I don't know. It's just like, I need to have silence when I'm doing that shit. Like,
well, dude, I mean, as a music producer, I mean, you're a lot of things. Music producer is one of them, but you've always got something going on in your ears, right? Like, I mean, always something happening in your ears. It must be nice sometimes just to like unplug and just listen to some silence for a minute.
Yeah, so it's pretty much, yeah, you're right. It's like a lot of times, yeah, that silence. Before I used to be in the car, but now there's nowhere to go. So it's like, I guess that would have been the time when you would listen to like a podcast or something like that,
Yeah,
like
right.
talk radio or whatever. Like, because I don't really listen
Yeah.
to a lot of music in the car. Like, I mostly listen to just, what is it, 97.1 or what station is that? I don't know what I listen to, but I listen to, a lot of talk radio. Like, I got to get away from the music, sometimes and just like
Right.
think. I just don't listen to anything. It's just, but like I said, I don't even go nowhere anymore. So it's like,
well, I hear you, man. I mean, it's like we're trapped. I mean, 2020 has us like trapped, and it's been like a crazy year. I mean, under normal circumstances, right? I mean, you and I we would have been hanging in Miami at Art Basel. We would have been hanging at Decon, Designer Con in Anaheim. Like none of that shit was happening this year. And boy, do we have some catching up to do, don't we? But so for you as an artist, as a producer, as an entrepreneur, I mean, 2020 obviously threw a ton of challenges at you. Say nothing of being a family man, a husband, all that good stuff. I mean, like, how have you been dealing with the year that we call 2020?
Well, pretty much just staying busy, like try to be more busy, like step it up a little more. That's kind of like my whole thing's been like, kind of like, okay, well, you got to kind of make up for whatever else you're not doing. Well, shit, man, you better like put that energy that would have went into that and just add it on, stack it onto whatever else you're doing, Shit, man, I think the crazy thing, I think the whole thing, I mean, of course, the whole, COVID thing, but I think the craziest thing is having your kid helping them with the whole school thing. That kind of like threw me off like crazy. Like, I was like, what? Like, I'm back in school, man. Like, like, I think that's probably been the biggest thing there, like, kind of like, whoa, like, how everything else was cool, but that, like, man, I was like, shit, man, it's kind of like a little stressful, man. I don't know. For me, it was like, or is, like,
dude, listen, brother, I hear you and I relate, because I tell you what, I didn't realize how much shit I'd forgotten until I started trying to help my kid, And by the way, she's in third grade.
Yeah, well, dude. Yeah, my daughter's in third grade too, man. And third grade is a hard grade, man. Like, it's like, it's like, it's a hard grade, man. Like, shit. Because you figure it's like you have kindergarten, first grade, then second grade is like kind of review, third grade is like bam, fourth grade is review, like bam, like, you know what I mean? So it's like,
right.
yeah, bro, like, I found myself like, I was like, dude, like, I had to call my girl, like, hey, man, like, there's this problem. I don't understand what the hell they're saying. Like, to be honest with you, man, shit. That's been my challenge right there. And, of course, my parents and, the whole COVID thing, it's like you kind of think about who you could be around and that whole thing. But it's like, besides all that, man, I figured, man, just grind even harder, because as soon as this machine turns back on, bro, it's like you got to be right there, man. Like, if you want to be in the game, it's like you kind of got to be ready, It's like right now, for anybody that's an artist or just trying to do any kind of work or whatever, whatever passion you have, it's like right now is the time to really, really get on that shit, man. Because if you come out of this with nothing to show, like, what did you, it's like you just sat at home watching TV, like, and watching, the Panic and all that shit. Like, fuck that. Like, am I allowed to cuss? Oh, shit.
Fuck no. Fuck no, you're not allowed to cuss. Fuck you, man. No, but I mean, you hit the nail on the head, right? Because I mean, the reality is, if you're not taking advantage of this found time, is, yes, it's forced on us, and yes, it sucks and all that stuff. But like, if you're, as an artist, if you're not figuring out how to be productive during this found time, then you've just made a bad situation even worse, because it was kind of the gift of time on a certain level, because like, I don't know about you, but I mean, suddenly, like, I mean, I had to cancel a lot of shit. I have a lot of shit I couldn't do. But then I realized, like, I had all the shit piled up that I could get to finally. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, some of those things I put on the back burner, I now could move to the front burner and kind of clear the decks,
Yeah, no, definitely. That's for sure, man. Like, yeah, but it's like we're living in a different time. And I think it's like, man, you just got to just do it, man. Like, I don't know, like ever since I started when I really started my brand and everything, I just decided, man, like, I can't waste any more time, man. I've already wasted a lot of time in my life, back in the day, fucking around or doing whatever. And it's just like, man, it's like, we're not going to live 200 years. So you better do your shit, because I just don't want to be one of those persons that has a lot of excuses and shit, like, and just blame shit on shit. And like this, just do the work, man. That's what I always say. Just do the fucking work, because it's just like, you got to do it now, And this whole shit that's going on now is like, it's not an excuse, man. Like, it's like, you're at home. I mean, whatever you're doing, man, shit. I mean, just kill it, man. If you own a fucking taco stand or whatever, bro, like, shit, go out there, slang your tacos, make your money, like, do your thing, man. Like, it's like right now, it almost seems like we're living in that era where you have to like really be savvy with in some kind of business fucking way, just to make it happen, like put some food on the table for your family or whatever, like.
Yeah, man. I agree. I mean, listen, I'll give people a break for like the first month or two, as like in March and April when all this shit was going down, we were all trying to figure out what it meant, what it was, what's up. So I can understand like back March and April, maybe people were caught a little flat footed or whatever. And it's like, oh shit, is this going to be 5 minutes? Is this going to be 5 months? Like, what is this going to be? But okay, beyond that, it's like, you know what? You can't sit on your hands. You can't cry over shit you can't change. You just you gotta check the things that you can check, which is your attitude and your output, as an artist, especially, because I mean, you have the tools to make stuff. If you're an accountant and you can't go in the office, okay, fine, I get that. Or if you're a bartender, shout out to the bartenders out here who got fucked. As an artist, take a few days, a couple weeks to kind of get situated. But then after that, like turn that frustration, turn that negative energy into positive energy.
Yeah, no, for real, you're right, man. Like, you got to control that shit, or else that shit's going to control you. And that's no good, In the beginning, it was crazy because it's like, now that I think back, it's like all the looting and all the protests, that was crazy shit, man. Like, I was like, oh, like, okay, like, I mean, we were here for the riots back in the 90s and stuff, but this time it was, I guess it's always going to be different, but for sure I seen some new shit that I was just like, damn, like, but then again, though, it's like, I wasn't surprised. It's like, but it is different from the beginning because nobody knew what was going on. Nobody was informed about this whole thing. And I guess, like, as time went on, we kind of understand what's going on, but then I guess we're still in the dark, I guess, but then we know a little bit, like, wow.
Yeah, we know a little more, not a whole lot, but not, but a little more. And it's like, listen, I don't care who's in the office. I was never going to trust a politician to tell me the truth. I don't care if it's Trump or whoever. Like, I mean, I think certain, like Obama, who I voted for twice, I believe that he would have been way more straight up than Trump was. But at the same time, I mean, I feel for any politician who's trying to deal with this because people panic easily. People are freaking out. You don't know what it is. You don't know what you can touch, what you can't touch, who you can see, who you can't see. And it was crazy. Crazy.
I think that's the craziest shit, man, because you would go into the stores and everybody's just looking at each other, like everybody has their mask and everybody's like looking at each other. Or what about in the beginning when nobody was wearing masks? Like, that was crazy because I remember I was in a market and this dude was just like next to me, like blabbing and talking like just crazy. And I was just like, dude, like this guy's too close to me. Like, I was just like,
right.
Like, just anxiety.
He was too close to you in normal times, let alone in a pandemic.
Yeah. Like, like,
step the fuck back, dude.
Yeah, like, you know what, dude? Like, I don't care about the stuff that's going on, but in normal times, you're like way too close, bro. Like, we're to the point where I would have probably pushed you or something, but
right.
Yeah, nah. But yeah, the whole thing is pretty much just stay productive, man, during this whole thing, man. And me, as I got my hands in different things, I figured, man, you better go and do the work because you got to try to stay ahead of the game, or whatever, and that way when this starts back up, because man, if you really think about it, before this COVID shit, man, everybody was on a schedule, man. Like, the schedule was tight for everybody. You go to work, work, go home, boom, boom, boom. Everybody had a schedule. Like, everybody was running tight. Now you're out there on the street, motherfuckers don't even know how to drive. I mean, they're like just like wandering in the lanes and shit. Like if they're drunk, like what the fuck? Like everything's loose now. Like everybody's like loose. Like everything, like everything was running tight, and now everything's like just wiggly. Like
shit's falling apart now. It's like, by the way, Javi, that was me in the car, swerving all over. I'm just telling you. I may have been under the influence. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people just swerving. I'm like, dude, this is people busting U-turns, fucking who knows where, like, and just doing just way off shit. I'm just like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, it's like fucked up. Like, it's like because we were running so tight, the city was so tight that now you could see all that shit. It's like there's not a lot of traffic, but people are just driving weird and just people just crossing the street weird and just weird. I definitely think that we're heading for some weird times. I don't know what's going to happen, but all we could do is just stay positive and just keep smashing, and that's
it, brother. That's it. Talking, in terms of staying positive and smashing, man, you have been smashing. I mean, obviously I track you on social, and I mean, there's so many things I want to ask you about, talk to you about, but I mean, let's start with something that's hot, something that I know that you've been working your ass off on. I mean, tell me about Dalia Coronado, man. I mean, you guys have been killing it.
Right. Yeah. Dalia Coronado. Well, pretty much what happened was, because see, my background is music. So I come from the whole music, DJing. So that's pretty much my background. Went into producing and everything. So, but that's in the beginning. But back to Dalia Coronado, I'm getting off track. But so anyways, I have a clothing brand, Graffiti The City. So I decided to make a label, Graffiti The City Records. So now I was able to sign an artist. So I signed Dalia Coronado to Graffiti The City Records. She's my first artist. And man, she's working really, really hard. And it's funny because she was there in my backyard the whole time in the Mar Vista Gardens and the projects, it's like, and we're from the same neighborhood. And it's like, I know her dad and her mom. It's like, so it's a trip. It was a trip, the whole thing. She's really talented, man. She's doing her thing. I mean, we understand each other. We vibe out. We have a good relationship, that, which is really important, because if you can't vibe, together, it's like, it's not going to happen, So thank God.
Gotta have that chemistry.
Right. And the beginning of 2020, I locked it down. I locked down the deal with her. And it was crazy because it was it was right before all the shit started happening. Like, so the whole COVID thing. So we started working in February. We released our first song and video in February. And then after that, we just kept hitting them with videos every month. I think we missed probably like 2 months, but we pretty much released a video just about every month. As a matter of fact, we have a new release this week, December 18th. And that's a new song with the new visual and everything. Pretty much, man, Dalia Coronado, man, she's just a dope female MC, man. Like, she's dope. I think she's going to do some big things, man, in the future. It's like, she's consistent. She came and we're just feeding off of each other, good energy and just positive vibes and everything, and trying to take it to the next level. And her as a female, representing that whole thing. And not only just repping for the females, but she's a female. She's a hip hop artist. She's an MC. So overall, guys and female, it's just, she's an overall MC, just like straight up busting lyrics. And she's really talented, man. I'm really glad that I found her. And I mean, the best thing, she works hard. She's consistent. And I think the icing on the cake is that we're from the same neighborhood. So, music, we relate to a lot of music. If you grew up in the same neighborhood, her dad probably listened to the same shit I listened to. As a youngster, like, she would hear that same kind of music.
You guys share the same source code, right? I mean, like those musical influences.
Right. It's rooted, we're rooted. We're like somehow rooted into the same shit. It's like, so it's like, I definitely feel a good connection, and we're just going to keep smashing, man. Like, keep smashing, putting out singles. Maybe 2021 we'll probably drop maybe an EP or an album or something. And that's all intertwined with the Graffiti of the City, with the brand. So it's a full circle. And then I also have Rama, a guy, MC, a good friend of mine. His name is Rama, and he has some stuff coming out too, and he's really dope. And he's also on the Graffiti of the City Records label. And man, I've been knowing him for a while. He's really dope. He has some pretty cool conscious stuff. And you know what's crazy is that, did you see my video? Then this is a whole nother thing that I'm working on is, so Graffiti the City. So I have my own Vivo channel. So you could go Graffiti the City Vivo. So I released this thing called Windwood Love. So it's a song. This is crazy. Let me see. How do I explain this shit? Because this is kind of different. So what I'm doing is, it's so new that I just don't even know how to even explain it. Anyways, well, let me see. Okay, so it's music. It's like instrumental, like funk synth music, visuals like from Miami, from Art Week in Miami and stuff like that. So, I called it Windwood Love. So, I figured since I wasn't going out there this year, I was like, fuck that. You know what? I'm going to release something cool, So I figured I turned Graffiti the City into like if you look up Graffiti the City, it's like an artist, like an actual person, but it's not. It's really just, it's me, funk, synth stuff. There's going to be a lot of different things going on with that whole lane. It's really, really new, as you can tell. I don't even know what.
Oh, dude, I love it, man. I mean, like, I'm going to check it out. I'm sorry I missed that. It sounds awesome. But I mean, because I know you do get a lot of love in Miami and Wynwood. I mean, people rock the Graffiti the City hats, and obviously you've got your crew down there and so on and so forth. I look forward to checking that out for sure. But I mean, like, that's the thing, man. I mean, it's like you are so prolific and productive. Every time we get together, man, you're telling me about something new or something fresh or something interesting. And it's one of the things I've always appreciated about you, because you may not know this, but you've inspired me, because it's just like you are always on it. It's like always something happening with you. And then when I realized that you were signing artists, because I mean, I knew about your DJ roots and you were in the studio doing production and stuff, but I didn't necessarily know that you were signing artists. And forgive my gringo dialect, but Dahlia, I mean, when she came out, man, I was just like, whoa, like, how did you find her? What's the story? I mean, the thing that blew me away about her was her confidence. I mean, because she really comes across as, believing in herself, believing in her rhymes. It's beautiful.
Well, what's crazy, you know how I met her? This is crazy. So, I was doing Uber, right? I don't know if I had told you. I was doing Uber driving. So
that's a whole nother podcast, by the way. I'm sure you have lots of stories.
So what happened was, I'm driving, hustling, doing my thing. So I get this call, and it's in the Mar Vista Gardens housing projects, so I got to go in there and pick somebody up. So it's her, Dahlia, So she gets in the car with her sister, and I start talking to her. But before that, I seen somebody I knew, and they were like, hey, that's Dahlia. She DJs and she raps and stuff. I go, oh, really? I go, all right, cool. I'm going to talk to her, whatever. So I started chopping it up with her, and she was like, yeah, I DJ and I scratch and I do this. I break dance. And I was like, so she told me who she was, who her dad was. And I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I know your dad, whatever. And I looked her up. I kept my eye on her. I was like, man, you know what? Maybe she could be something, maybe somebody that I could mold. So then I checked her, I think I checked her IG, and I see she was having a kid. So I was like, oh shit. Okay, well, maybe after she has her kid, I'll wait a little while. So I waited, and then maybe like about a year later, I looked into her again, and I hit her up. Hey man, you interested? Come down to the studio. Let's chop it up. And her fiance came, and we chopped it up, and shit, man, everything was good. They agreed with everything, and we got going. But before all that, I wasn't too sure about myself. So in that whole year that I was waiting, like figuring out if I was going to hit somebody up, I had to make sure that I was ready, to take the responsibilities as a record label or executive or whatever. Am I ready to play that role? So that's a big responsibility, because I know how it feels to get fucked. You count on somebody and then they leave you hanging, it's like, that's fucked up. And that's not what I wanted to do with whoever I was going to work with. And like I said, this whole time I was looking for somebody to sign, and there it is. I pick her up. I'm driving Uber, and I pick her up, and there it is. So fuck it. I guess meant to happen, right? Funny shit.
Hey man, you were driving Uber for a reason, and this is one of them. Like, I mean, that's a beautiful thing, right?
Uh, Add that to my resume. The
Hey
Uber driver.
man, hey, you know what? It's called research. It's called recon. You're out there doing recon, looking for talent. Yeah, man. I mean, no, she seems like she's got a lot of promise, a lot of potential, and she's lucky to have you, dude. I mean, like and that's one of the reasons I love you. It's like the fact that you were so cautious. Like a lot of hustlers out there, whatever, would have just been like, oh yeah, we'll hook you up, sign up, we'll do this, do
Yeah,
that, and
that's
then but I mean, you're such a good dude that you really did some soul searching to make sure you were even ready for that responsibility, because that's what it is. It's a responsibility.
right. Yeah, no, definitely. And that's been something that I've been wanting to do that was in the making for a while. My good friend, man, Edward Rios, aka Edub, he has his own label and stuff. And I've been working with him for a long time, like, and he's a real good friend of mine. And he's kind of like, hey, man, like, you got to do your thing. Like, you have what it takes to take it to the next level. And he actually, by him saying that a few times, I was like, fuck, you know what? He's right. Like, it's like I got tons of music. I have catalogs of music beats, and they're just sitting there. It's just like, so yeah, I was like, shit, man, like I have to do this. Like, I have to like start something, like a whole new shit. But since I had the brand, the Graffiti The City shit, so I was like, man, you know what? I'm just gonna make a music department out of that. So let's see what happens, and take this shit to the next level, hopefully, and just work hard.
Well, yeah, for sure. And speaking of working hard, I mean, you're putting out videos with all these songs. Like, it's incredible that you're dropping videos when you drop in the songs. I mean, talk to me about your approach to video production. I mean, who are you working with? How you doing this? I mean, that's a lot of extra stress on the system, a lot more deadlines, a lot more money. How are you managing that?
Well, I mean, that's a whole nother thing too, because I'm pretty much directing and editing and shooting all the videos myself. So it's a lot of work, but you know what? My friend, Edward Rios, I mean, he pretty much showed me some editing software a while back. And the software was just like we would record, in the studio, like audio software. So I was like, shit, it's almost like the same way you chop things and you edit. So I was like pretty quick to catch on. And then I started finding a passion for editing. And it got to the point where I just started shooting my own stuff. So what had happened was I had hooked up with my friend Clever. He's a photographer, and he was doing photo shoots for my brand for Graffiti the City. And I was going along with him, and I had a video camera, and I was recording all the footage that when he was shooting, I was recording the video. So I got all that footage one day, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start making videos and fucking little commercials for my brand and stuff. And it worked. I was like, oh shit. Like, so from there, I was hooked into the whole editing and video and stuff. So now it's kind of like a whole nother, passion that I have. It's like just editing stuff and the visuals, man. It's like, I like movies, I really like movies. So I try to kind of like, just like shit, man. Like, I think I have a vision for what something should look like. If I want something to look like something, I think I have the vision to pull it off. So now I feel more confident about what I'm doing, because before it was just like I didn't know what I was doing. And I think just directing now, it's like the whole nother, because now I'm actually like directing like the music videos. So you gotta like, but everything's, I mean, if it, like nothing's really planned, man. Like sometimes we just show up and we just go, let's shoot. Like maybe we just get a location and we just start shooting, and it's all in the editing, like just, you know how it is. I mean,
Well,
just,
it's all in the starting. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I know so many people, myself included, are so guilty of like trying to wait till everything is just right, or you got to plan, you got to plot, you got to scheme, you got to like put everything into place, you got to, and the reality is no, sometimes you just got to fucking start.
yes,
Because a lot of times people are just procrastinating. They're maybe a little afraid,
yeah,
or they're insecure. They're like, and so they're procrastinating. And sometimes, you know what? You just got to go. You just got to jump. You just got to experiment, because you're going to learn. You're going to grow, and not be afraid.
yes. That's, yeah. You said that. That's the truth, because I think the mind of an artist is. I mean, we're all fucking crazy. It's like everybody's different, but everybody has their own crazy. But I think something that an artist's worst enemy is overthinking shit, because that shit will
Right.
fuck you up. That will hold you back for years. And like, you look at something, you're like, nah, it's not ready. Maybe I want to do this. Well, you know what, man? It's like that era. I think I mean, how much better are you gonna get? You know what I mean? It's like you might as well just fucking just put shit out, because you know what? All these youngsters, they ain't thinking twice. They're just blasting. They're fucking hitting you with shit. They don't give a shit. And then next thing you know, their piece fucking sells or whatever. It's like, and they got that opportunity because they were not scared. They didn't hold back. They're just like, fuck it, let's just go. Like, so that's kind of like, I learned a lot from a lot of these younger guys. It's like, you know what? Like, I mean, think about it. It's like I put myself in their shoes. It's like they're just having fun, man. Like, it's like that's pretty much it, man. Just have fun and fucking put shit out, man. Like, it's like I think a lot of people forget about that. And that's a lot of people aren't having fun anymore. It's like it turns into some other shit, like some serious crazy shit in your mind. And it's like I think that everybody just needs to just put out their shit, man, put out their art. And it's like if you don't want to put it out, well then don't put it out and keep it to yourself.
But then stop bitching about it.
Yes,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? Like you can't have it both ways. You can't be bitching about not being discovered or bitching about being frustrated, and yet you're sitting on a bunch of stuff that you've done and you haven't shared it with anybody. Like you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, no, definitely. One thing that I learned a long time ago is like when I used to make music, I found myself, and this was a long time ago, it's like I found myself talking to people about music, and I was like, yeah, man, you know what? I got this dope ass fucking shit. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it like this. They'd be like, okay, well, where is it? And I'd be like, fuck, you know what? You're right. Like, why the fuck am I even talking about it if I don't have it in my hand to show you or whatever? So it's like that used to be something that I got out of real quick. That whole shit, talking about shit, and it's like you don't have shit to show because then it's like, and then you see the same person later on and you're like, hey, dude, I got this one shit. Like, dude, you already told me this. Like, what the fuck? Like, where is it at? Like, then they start thinking you're fucking crazy. You're like, man, this guy's, he be slacking or whatever. Like, so that's what I was like, man, I need to stay away from that. You need to show your work because talking about it they ain't gonna believe you, and people aren't gonna believe in your shit, It's like,
well, and I also feel like we're sort of living in a time. I mean, I'm older than you, but I mean, we've come from an era, I think, together where things were maybe the expectation it was that things were supposed to be super polished and super pro and super this, super that. And because of the digital revolution, basically, the tools were democratized and put into the hands of the people. And so a lot of the gatekeepers were gone and so on and so forth. But the point is that like people didn't hesitate. There's like a whole legion of people out there that don't give a fuck. They're just creating and putting it out there. And it's almost like the rawness is an aesthetic now that people actually totally respect and dig. It's like, it doesn't have to be polished. It can be a diamond in the rough.
right. It's crazy because I just think about this. It's like, okay, like think about, okay, like back in the day, like it's crazy because everything's real time now. It's like all the youngsters, they're fucking like, dude, they're like in the best fucking position because like you said, you got to polish it. Everything was like different back in the day. You had to make sure it was right because the people before us were on some whole other shit too. Like they were like, so like it went from generation to generation, but a lot of these kids, they get a lot of people criticize their shit because, oh, you know what? Like me as an older person, it's like a lot of people in my age bracket, they criticize all these kids because, oh man, that shit's fucking whack or, whatever, this and that. But then again, though, you can't fucking hate on these fucking kids because you know what? If we were in that position and we had the internet and all that, all of our early whackness shit would have been out there and it would have been whacked. And then people would have been like, oh, that shit's whack. They have the upper hand to put the shit that they're barely working on and they can have the whole world see it. It's like the whole world could witness their shit barely beginning. So imagine like putting me when I was beginning and I was like, oh shit, I'm just going to upload this shit up right now. And the shit's whack as fuck. So it's kind of like the same thing, It's like, so that's why I understand it. Like I understand all these kids doing their shit and I respect it, man. Like, because if I was in their shoes, I'd be doing the same shit. I'd be like, fuck that. Here, check out this video or whatever. Like, but I think what's fucked up is that there's a lot of wrong shit going on too. You know what I mean? Like some fucking knucklehead shit, like some fucking dumb shit.
You hit on several important points there. I mean, it's like the fact that the older generation would hate on the younger generation. I mean, that's classic, right? Like my parents hated on me, their parents hated on them. It's like shit happens like that, right? But because of course the older generation never thinks the younger generation knows anything or knows what's up or whatever. But the difference that you're kind of getting to, one of the points you're making here is the fact that because the tools have been democratized now, a 15, 16-year-old kid in high school can become a multimillionaire because they can start a business online or something. You know, an artist can literally create a song in their bedroom on their laptop, put it on SoundCloud or TikTok for that matter, and all of a sudden they're the overnight sensation, you know, or it catches fire. Like that's incredible. That's a, you know, yes, it has its downfalls and it's not perfect, but it's also at the end of the day, a super positive, powerful development for artists. Especially.
That's the cool shit about the whole internet shit and everything. And, you know, some people will say, oh, this is killing the art or whatever, but it's different times, man. And you know what? You got to get with the times, I think. You know, it's like the youth will always win, bro. Like, I mean, that's the way I kind of look at it. But don't fuck with the OGs, though, because, you know, it's like.
Well, listen, I mean, I think we're both right. I mean, the younger generation needs to know their history. They do. They need to know their history. They need to know the OGs. They need to know where the shit comes from. I really believe that. It's going to make their art better at the end of the day.
Right.
But that doesn't mean what they're doing, if they don't have that history or whatever, or if they have a bad attitude about it or whatever, that doesn't necessarily make their artwork invalid or not good. Right. I mean, if it's good, it's good. I mean, people like it, and, you know, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I mean, there's a lot of popular shit out there that I hate, but majority of the people they have different tastes and different interests and different. Right. And so, you know, who am I to judge? But at the end of the day, it is, I think, important to know the rules and the history. But it's also, I think a lot of these older artists, quite frankly, they're fucking jealous because they're old. You know? Right. it's like they want to be young again too, young and sexy again too, and they're not.
Right. And instead of embracing and learning, like, you know, right away, it's like, I call it's a bitter OG disease. That's what it is. Like, it's, you know, you're just like a bitter OG. Like, you know, it's like, fuck, man. Like, I don't want to be a bitter OG, man. I want to show love to everybody and respect everybody. And it's like, but yeah, you're right, though. They do have to, you know, learn the history, learn the shit. Because you know what? In music, I've noticed a lot of these kids, they take off and then they ask them to perform, and then they can't perform because they're blowing up so hard and so fast that they never took the time to, like, holy shit, now I got to perform in front of all these people. So some of these kids are going from their bedroom to a fucking big stage or a big festival, or who knows, you know? So that's kind of crazy. That's a whole crazy shit, like, about, you know, like, that's where the development kind of like comes in, you know? It's like, and that's what I'm doing with Dahlia. She's still in development. Like, she's still in development.
Yeah, totally, right?
But she
diamond
knows,
in the rough. Diamond in the rough. That's what I call her. You know?
She knows what's going on. She knows she has a good head on her shoulders, man. And I believe in her, and I believe she believes in me too. So, you know, it's like, so the thing with her is really dope. But well, that's what I'm saying. It's like with her, it's like, I'm gonna make sure she's gonna fucking rock the mic, and she's gonna kill it. You know, it's like, because it has to be tight, because that's a representation of both of us. And if something's out of whack, it's both of us, but mainly me, because I'm the older guy. The shit should be right. It's like,
you're the boss, man, and you better not fuck it up if you're the boss.
Yeah, right. Or I was gonna be like, damn, what the fuck you doing over there? Like, but for now, I mean, we're just smashing on that whole shit. But I'm glad that you've seen that, because I didn't even know. I mean, I don't even really know who's looking at what. I mean, there's a lot of people tuned into her stuff, and she doesn't have like fucking like 100,000 followers or nothing like that. But you know what though, man? It's like, at this point, bro, like, I don't think numbers even fucking matter, man. Like, numbers don't really matter. I mean, they do matter, but as far as like that whole, like, you're new, people think that you should have this many followers and all this stuff. I don't think that. If the talent's there, man, like, followers, I mean, they'll catch up later on, you know.
And well, that's, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, in terms of, because I bumped into this over the years too. It's like people that don't know any better or that don't want to fucking think or are lazy, they want shortcuts, right? They want to figure out a way to kind of take it easy on themselves a little bit. And the point is, I'm getting at is like, they want to look at an Instagram following and say like, oh, okay, they got 100,000 followers. They must be good.
Right.
No, 100,000 people could be idiots and like some whack shit. You know what I mean? The quality of the art has nothing to do with the following.
Right.
And I think sometimes businesses look at the following, because if you're in business, right, you want to minimize your risk, right? So they're looking at the 100,000 followers and they're saying, oh, okay, lower risk.
Right.
Than this other artist that may only have 5,000, right? True story. I was at a art licensing show a few years ago, right? And we had like all these artists like on display in our booth. And this woman comes up and she's like the head of licensing for, I want to say it was like, maybe it was Macy's or Nordstrom, like one of those big department stores, right? And she walks right up to one of the artists at this big thing up there. And she walks up to, she goes, that's incredible. I love it. I love that artwork. I love this artist. Tell me, they're perfect for us. This is perfect. Tell me more about the artist. So I'm like telling her who the artist was and, you know, the history and da-da-da. And she's just excited, right? Like and then all of a sudden she just stops and she goes, okay, this is great. He's perfect. Da-da-da. Tell me, how many Instagram followers does he have? Right? And I was like, well, he has 35,000. Only 35,000?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, you know, and what I saw was that suddenly she was questioning her own instincts. Her own instincts was that it was great art, perfect for them. She said it out loud. She wanted to know, you know, she had a visceral reaction to the artwork. But then suddenly she wanted to understand about the Instagram following because that was a metric for risk or a metric for her, or the amount of work she might have to do. And then suddenly when she realized that there was only 35,000, like she got cold, right? And I had to explain to her, I said, no, you have to understand that Banksy is a 1 in a million. Shepard Fairey is like a 1 in a million. Like at the end of the day, you have to rely on your gut. And you just said this artist was perfect for your brand, perfect for, you know, your company. You love it. And now you're going to second guess yourself over some stupid social media metric, which doesn't mean nothing because you can buy it from a click farm.
Yeah, dude, that's fucked up. That's a fucked up thing because, for instance, with Dahlia, it's like, fuck, you know what? It's like, and that's a perfect example. It's like, look, it's like she didn't have a fucking, man, she didn't have a lot of followers, you know? And I was like, I didn't look at that. I was like, because that's the thing. It's like people aren't thinking like that anymore. They're like, fuck that. You know what? I'm into creating something, like something fresh, something new. And that's how you create something new and fresh. Like, for instance, that person only had 35,000 followers, but they could have created something right there. And that would have been their shit. So a lot of these people don't look at the big picture. They're like, fuck, you know what? I'm getting this person when they're like this, when they're barely going to blow up. It's like, let's fucking help them and give them that push. See, that's the problem with a lot of shit right now. It's like, if you don't have followers, people think they judge you by your followers, man. Like, you know, it's like, I don't have a lot of followers. Don't judge me by my followers. I mean, fuck, man. I mean, I'll still give you the blues, you know? like,
well, the other thing too that people don't realize about this social media shit, dude, it's like if you've got 50, 60, 70, 80,000 followers or more, that is a job. That is a full-time job. You are on that shit like daily, like hourly, like aggressively working it. It just doesn't happen. It is an intentional effort to grow that number. And it's not the metric that they think. They're looking for a silver bullet, right? They're looking for the writing on the wall from the gods that say, oh, this is the artist that's going to make you millions of dollars. It's like, no, that's not how to think about it.
Yeah, you got to get somebody when they're fresh, man. Like if you're really trying to do some shit and you're really trying to change some shit, you got to like
start from scratch, man.
Yes, like, you know, start from scratch. Like, you know, it's like that's fucking like on some other level where you're like, yeah, less risk. Oh, you know what? This person has like about 1 million followers. So like we'll be able to sell at least this much. And then they go off of that. That's an ugly thing in that whole world. But, you know, there's other lanes, you know, there's always other lanes. That's not the only lane. That's what's good about, I think, the era that we're living in, that there's so many different lanes that you could do.
That's right. That's right.
You're a
That's right.
painter.
Yeah, man. Hey, but I want to tell you something. So, earlier, right, you you were talking about the bitter OG. You're like, oh man, don't be a bitter OG, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that caught my ear, right? So just so you know, I went on just while we were talking, I went on GoDaddy, okay?
Uh,
bitterog.com is available.
oh,
So you need to buy that shit right now. bitterog.com. Just get it
get it?
and hold on to it because there's something there. Like there's
Oh,
something
yeah, I
funny.
get it.
There's something, you got to get that. So,
You know what's funny?
just
I thought of that a while back, and I was like, damn, should I make a fucking shirt that says bitter OG? Like,
OG.
yeah, I always
Love it.
tell people that. I'm like, man, you're just a bitter OG, bro. Like, but nah,
Yeah, well,
that's pretty much I don't want to be a bitter OG, man. Like, that's,
I'm laughing in part because listen, man, I find myself doing the same fucking thing. Like I find myself kicking, like I'll literally catch myself, like I'll be like beating myself up, like I'll be cussing myself, I'll be kicking myself for not doing this, not doing that. Like, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And then I realized, shit, I'm 50 years old. Like I didn't do that because I couldn't. It just wasn't available. You know what I mean? Like, and what I realize is that I'm just mad I'm not young and sexy anymore. You know what I mean?
I mean,
I'm just running out of time.
Nah, man, like we still have time, man, but we just don't have time to procrastinate. That's what we don't have time.
That's right. Well, listen, I'll put it this way. This is the way I think about it, man. I'm not a religious guy. I've got my own beliefs and stuff, but one of the things that's sacred to me is time. And if you want to offend the gods, I feel like waste your time and you will offend the gods. You want to please the gods, use your time. Use it.
Yes, like you have to. I think that's like really important, man. And I didn't really understand that till, fuck, man. Maybe like I think maybe when I had my daughter, which is probably like I would probably say like maybe 13 years ago, where I was like, man, like what, I'm starting to get old. Like it's like you better fucking think of something. I had friends tell me like, watch, when you get kids, you ain't gonna have time to do shit and this and that, and I was like, fuck. So when I finally had my daughter, dude, it was like the opposite. I was like, fuck, like I better figure something out. And
I got motivated.
Yeah, I got motivated real quick, man, because I was like, fuck, like what? It was just a whole nother. It gave me energy, like a whole nother push, like. And that's exactly how I started Graffiti the City. Was I was in my friend's backyard and I did a piece because I used to be a graph writer back in the days. I was like, "Fuck."
What did you write?
I don't even want to say. I don't even want to say. But I was heavy into it. I was heavy into graffiti, and I know my history. And I ran with a lot of dudes that stayed doing graffiti, and I know dudes that have big companies now that I'm like, whoa, like, so that's another thing that made me see like, hey, you know what, maybe I've always wanted to do a clothing brand because music and clothing went together and stuff. But back to the whole graffiti thing, I did this piece and I was like, damn, that's pretty cool, like that's not bad for like, fuck, I didn't do a piece like in fuck, man, like probably since maybe 93, maybe like 93. And like I got on the paint, I was like, and I was like, oh, this is cool, it was fun. After that, I was just like, man, I'm gonna start a fucking graffiti brand. Like, and then I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this. And I looked and see what was available, and then I just put together the whole thing, man, the whole Graffiti the City thing. It was because at first I was gonna call it Los Angeles Graffiti, but for the respect of that, I was like, nah, you know what? I can't call this shit. I have too much respect for Los Angeles graffiti. So I was like,
right,
you know what?
Right.
Me as just respecting the art, I was like, you know what? I better figure something else out. So I was like, you know what? And also that would have boxed me in. So then I just decided to call it Graffiti the City. I'm going to go ahead. I trademarked it and did the whole shit. The art, my logo, I trademarked it. And so now I figured, fuck that. You know what? I'm going to do every major city and fuck with different artists from major cities. And that's how I'm going to run with that. So that was a whole nother thing. Like, but I didn't take it serious until after I trademarked my shit. Like, because I know trademarking and all that stuff is really important. And I said, you know what? If I'm going to be in the game, I'm going to be in the game for real. So I always wanted to do a clothing brand. I wanted to have my own clothing brand. I used to go down to the Magic in Vegas, and I was there for music purpose. to either DJ or, performances or whatever, or just walk around promoting music. And, I seen everybody, like they had their own clothing brands, and I seen all this shit. I was like, man, this is dope. So all that years later, I guess, just rubbed off on me. I was like, fuck, you know what? I'm going to do it like this. So now that's where we're at now, doing Graffiti the City Records, and also producing for just other people. And fuck, man, videos. Man, there's a lot of shit, man. I'm happy that I'm able to do all this, like, and I think all these years and just being involved in different things, because it just made me learn a lot of different things, and also lessons in life, and don't take nothing for granted, because shit could have been really fucked up back in the day for me. Like, so I just take all that and just put it into like positive shit, and just try to make something out of all that lost time. Maybe it wasn't the right time back in the day, but now I feel like I'm in a better position. Things happen for a reason, man. Like, it goes back to that.
Well, but I mean, it also wasn't lost time, because it made you who you are.
Right.
It brought you to this point. And,
Yeah, right.
And I personally, anytime I ever hear anybody talking about they lament or regret wasted time or whatever, I mean, I get it, right? I get it. But truly, if you got through it and you're on the other side and you're doing whatever, you're following your dreams, doing whatever it is you need to be doing or want to be doing at that point, it wasn't wasted time. It was a journey, right? It was
right. You're
made
right.
you who you are,
I always forget that, and let me kick myself in the ass, because you're right. You're 100% right. If I didn't go through all that, I wouldn't have been who I am now, and that is really true. I believe in that. And as I got older, you know what? It's like I didn't want to live in regret. Like,
exactly.
So I was like, you know what? That was really what I wanted. Like, I didn't want, like, be like, man, I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have done, like, fuck that. That would kill me. Like, I was like, if anything, that would kill me. Like, man, like, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. So in this time, I'm like now I'm just like, fuck that. Yeah, I got to kill it. Anything I do, I better do it 100%. Like,
well, and what a lot of people don't realize too, I think a lot of times, is that, we celebrate these billionaires, we celebrate these celebrities and stuff. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of those people don't have a fucking life. You know what I mean? Like, they were so focused on making that billion, or they were so focused on getting that fame or whatever it is. And God bless them. They met their goals, they, whatever. But a lot of times they don't have much of a life outside of their work or outside of their stuff. And that's, I don't want to live that life either. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would rather know that, I think if I had to choose fortune and fame over just like a full life, I would choose a full life.
Right.
I would.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. I definitely hear you. And that's why I try to have fun with, if it's not fun, I ain't fucking with it.
Fuck it. If it's not fun, fuck it.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, I'm not.
That's the number one metric for me in terms of success in life. How much are you smiling and laughing? Because here's the thing. If you're smiling and laughing, you're a rich motherfucker.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, for real. And that doesn't mean just money. You know what I mean? It's just.
That's right.
It's like, just like the way when I see you, like at Decon, when you're doing the whole, well, all the kids are doing their names and all that stuff on the little pieces of papers, and you're posting that. That's fucking dope, man. Like, that's fun. It's like, and like all those kids, like, I mean, I recorded, I mean, think about it. I edit some of those videos. So it's like, I'm looking at these kids and I'm looking at their expressions and all this shit while I'm editing the video. I'm like, dude, this is so dope. You know what I mean? Like what Scott's doing. Like, I'm like, man, like, you know what? This is like the shit, because it's like, he doesn't have to do this. Like, and those kids don't have to know about this, but you know what though? That opens up a whole nother thing. I mean, you might have created something right there. And I'm pretty sure you created something with these kids, because like just their face, they're like, they're like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on here? Like, what is this? Like, just like back in the days, like I remember when I first seen breakdancing for the first time, I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, like to me, it always goes back to that. Like, fuck with the youth, you know what I mean? Like, fuck with them, because it's like our culture will disappear, if we don't fucking like, hey, this is what it is. Like, every year I do this thing called the Beat Swap Meet. Have you ever been to the Beat Swap Meet? It's in LA.
I haven't. I want to. You got to tell me what it is. I want to come.
That shit, man. It's so dope, man. It's hip hop culture. It's everything intertwined. and I see a bunch of kids and they're looking at everything, and I'm just like, I identify that look. Like, I'm like, damn, like, you know what? They're tripping out because they never seen this shit. And they're like, whoa, like, I want to do this. Like, or like when I'm DJing somewhere and there's kids and like, they're just looking at me. I'm like, hey, you want to try it? You want to scratch? Like, come here, man, scratch. And they're like, scratch. And they're like, fuck. Like, especially on vinyl, like, you know, grabbing a vinyl record and scratching.
Right,
like,
right.
I'm gonna be like, what the fuck is this? So it's like, to me, like, that's really important, man. And I love what you do. Like, you know, the whole with all the everything, man. Everything you do, bro, like, is dope, man. And I look up to you. Like, when I see you doing all that stuff, like, man, it's dope, man. And I think that, like I say, you don't have to do none of that. You know, it's like, you can just be like, fuck everybody.
Thank you, brother. That means a lot, because the reality is, if there's anything I've learned in my life on this planet, and I turned 50 this year, but, you know, it sort of boils down to a simple kind of question. Are you creating positive energy or negative energy? Right? Like, that's kind of it. I mean, how we live our lives, the choices we make, the work we do, what have you. Are we putting out positive energy or negative energy? And I know you and I are very similar. Like, we share, like, we just want to put out positive energy. Like, that's what we want to do.
Yeah,
And
that's pretty much it, man. Like, you know, because you realize, I mean, if anything, if time has taught us anything, bro, like, you know, if you fucking put negative shit, that's what they're gonna come and serve you. Some negative shit. Put out some positive shit. People still don't get that, man. Like, and it took me a while to understand that, you know? It's like,
right, sure.
and it's like, you know what? It's like, I mean, even when I'm on social media, man, like, you know, I see a lot of fucked up shit, and I feel like commenting on that. But then again, though, once you put that shit out there, it's like, it's negative. It's just, you're feeding into negative shit.
Right,
And,
right.
you know, sometimes it pulls you, man. Like, I find negative fucking energy will pull you fucked up sometimes. Like, you know, like,
Yep,
and it's
yep.
like, you got to learn how to, like, go the other way. You know, and it took me a long
Totally,
time
man.
to figure that out. It's like, I used to be at a job where it was just nothing but negativity, man. And you start yelling because the other person would come at you, start yelling, and then you find yourself, now you're yelling at each other. And after it's over, you're like, how come I followed him into that, or her, or, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's one thing that's fucking hard to control, man. You follow somebody into that fucking dark space and you're fucked. And you're like, how did I get into this dark room? Like, because you ate it. Like,
You chose to be there. You
yeah,
chose
you
to
know what I
be
mean?
there, right?
Yeah. And a lot of times we choose to be there and we don't even realize it. And I think that's another art form right there, man. Like, you know, it's like, you gotta fucking try to not to get into that shit. And I think that's really important, man. Like, that's fucking important. And nobody's perfect. I mean, you know, no, I mean, I'm not saying that one day maybe I might yell at somebody or just talk shit. You know what I mean? It's like, it's there, you know, but I guess it'll be a buildup of something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, man. It's true. It's true. Because, I mean, if you don't have a way of releasing that steam, because it does build up, right? Like the old saying, "A smoking mountain's got to blow." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, if you don't figure out a way to let that steam off, whether it's through exercise or through art or through meditation or through going to church or whatever it is, you are going to blow up. You got to manage it. I mean, life is stressful. I mean, I'm not, you know what I mean? We all know that. You know,
Yeah,
so it's like,
man.
you got to figure out how to manage your stress. I was so excited to talk to you about the music and everything. You know, we didn't really talk a whole lot about Graffiti the City. I mean, you've shared a little bit, but I mean, what is happening with the brand? What is happening with Graffiti the City right now? I mean, I know you've got new products. I know you're always creating new products in the pipeline and stuff. I see the hat you're wearing now, the cap you're wearing now, that logo looks new to me. Like, I haven't seen that logo before.
Oh yeah.
So that's either an old logo I've not seen or a new logo I have not seen.
Well, this logo right here it's actually an old logo, but I never brought it out. One of those things.
Interesting. Okay.
It's one of those things where, like, I never talked about it, but it's new.
Yeah.
It's an
Right.
old logo, but it wasn't ready to come out back then.
Sure. Yeah,
So it's like I have a lot of shit, but I just don't talk about it. That's
Right, of
sitting
course.
there until it's ready. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
not that I'm prepping it or nothing, and it's not ready, but it's just the timing for it. It'll, you know, because timing is everything. Also, you know, it's like you got to go back to the whole timing. Like, when is this going to come out? Whatever. But this logo right here, actually, it was made by my friend Little Lucky, and I've known Little Lucky for a long time, and he used to be, I believe he was the head designer down at Joker brand. You remember the brand Joker with all
Oh,
the
hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, yeah.
He's also a very good friend of mine, man, and you know he's taught me a lot. He's done a lot of stuff for me. So this is a logo that he did for me back a while back, and he's done some new stuff for me also. You know, yeah, this whole logo was gonna be actually for the record label, but I decided not to. You know, I decided just to do something else with it and just finally.
Yeah.
But as far as Graffiti the City, the brand, the clothing brand, we just did a collaboration with Museum of Graffiti in Miami.
Nice.
That's actually one of our official collaboration between them. So what happened was they started selling our product out there, and then this year we decided to put their logo on the side of our hats. And then I did some splatter hats that I love. I love making these splatter hats, and those are actually made by me personally. And well, like I did one with Man One. That was a collaboration. That was
shout out Man One.
Actually, that was the first collaboration right there. For Decon last year, he told me, he was like, "Hey man, like let's do a collaboration," and I was like, "All right." And I never asked nobody because, I mean, I would like to collab with a lot of people, but man, it's just kind of like getting into that conversation.
You got to pick your battles, man. You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
Someone asked me, and I was like, "Hell yeah, man! Like let's do that shit." So like, fucking, we were in the studio, and he fucking we did some splattering. He did some spray painting on the hat. And then we put designer con and we slapped it on there. And yeah, we did a collabo. And then fucking Man One was killing it, fucking tagging up shirts last year at Decon. And that whole shit just came together just from all that. Like, so that was dope. Man One took it back 100 right there because people were like, "Oh, do my shirt." Like, that was dope. That was a dope collab. And I still have one hat, man. I saved one hat. And that was actually like the first collaboration, I believe. But this year 2020, we did Museum of Graffiti, and I did 6 hats. I did, apart from all the hats that they already had, they had New York, Miami, and LA. I did 6 exclusive splatter hats, and those also have the Museum of Graffiti logo on the side. But if anything, what I'm doing is, because this year we're supposed to do New York. We're really supposed to concentrate on New York. You know, the whole COVID shit fucked everything up because we're going to do New York. And then after that, do everything else that we do. There was a lot of other things going on and stuff, but I really want to focus on, because I mean, shit, New York is really, really fucking important. And in the whole hip hop, also Philadelphia, you know, it's like, so I just wanted to do a lot of things with the East Coast, and then also do something with Berlin, like Germany and stuff like that, and do a lot of other things. But mainly the plan was really to focus on New York. But I mean, I think for 2021, New York is really something that I really, really want to do. I had a whole plan, but then it just kind of fizzled out. But I think it was kind of a good thing, because it's like things happen for a reason. And now we could really kind of like go back to the original plan and be like, hey, you know what? We could do this. But right now we have our official hoodies that we have in our website. We have our hoodies, our official hoodies. We have the classic black and white, and then we have the true blue, which is kind of like a Dodger color. We have heather gray with the blue writing. And then next week we're dropping a new color hoodies. They're going to be very exclusive Los Angeles Graffiti hoodies. And the heather gray hoodies are available at Big Dick's. Shout out to them, Slick and everybody over there, Donks. They're also available. Oh no, our hats and hoodies are available at their store. We also have hats and hoodies available in the IE. We have a new store. It's called Inhale. They're also selling the hoodies and the hats. And then we have Graffades. We have Graffades over here in Culver City that are selling the hats. You can get the hats there. And then we have Sacramento, Leave Your Mark. There's a store out there called Leave Your Mark, and they carry Sacramento graffiti hats. Like, that's really exclusive because they're the only ones that carry the Sacramento hats. And then I said Museum of Graffiti, and what else? We're working on a few more stores. We're probably going to get exclusive stores like that, that sell graph stuff, that sell paint, that have graffiti, art supplies.
Right. Yes, art supplies. Indeed. Well, so I mean, listen. I mean, the fact that you're doing this collab with the Museum of Graffiti, I mean, that's huge. I mean, that's going to get you in New York. That's going to get you in Berlin. That's going to, what I mean, like having that base of operation, having that calling card is just going to open up doors because those guys know everybody. And I know they, I'm guessing they would be down to introduce you to the people that you might need to know to make a mark in New York or whatever. And, another event you should talk to Man One about if you haven't already is a meeting of styles. Like you need to do a meeting of styles line as well. I think they'd eat it up. They'd love it.
Right. Yeah, no, I spoke to somebody in Miami that was doing that. But you know what? It's crazy. It's like a bunch of different people. So it's like, I don't really know the whole thing with that. And I know Man One and I were having a conversation about when he had meeting of styles in LA. And he told me,
I co-produced that with him.
Yeah,
that was crazy, dude. Crazy.
You guys are nuts. I heard all the fucking backlash. Like you guys had to deal with,
Dude, it was fucking wild. I mean, we suddenly our little event, which was historic in the LA scene anyway, but then for it to become a national story, we were in the New York Times, Chicago Tribune, like all the big newspapers because of all the shit that was blowing up with fucking Gloria Molina, that fucking bitch.
Yeah, man, I heard about that. That's fucking crazy, man. Like she really had it in for you guys, man. Like,
dude, she was I'll say it again. She was a fucking bitch. Gloria Molina was a fucking bitch. Like, I mean, her department gave us the permit for the event.
Right.
And then, of course, you know how fucking idiots do. I mean, we had a beautiful event, 3 days, families came down. It was incredible. It was just, I mean, the amount of the fucking productions that were created that weekend. I mean, it was easily over $250,000 worth of artwork that was created in that. And that's I think a conservative estimate. That's just time, labor, materials, all that stuff, right? It was a huge amount of production, right? And then, of course, assholes show up, they tag over here, over there, whatever. All it takes is some, neighbor to complain or whatever. Well, then suddenly Gloria Molina played dumb, I don't know, this was illegal. They didn't have a permit. I don't know anything about this. And it's like, you lying bitch. You gave us a permit. You knew about this. And we took it to the press. We took it to the streets. If I remember right, the ACLU was even involved because they were threatening to buff it. They were going to charge us, well, if you don't buff it, we're going to buff it and send you the bill. And it was like a crazy thing, man. But it was epic. That was it was a beautiful event. I mean, people were painting, arch rivals, mortal enemies were painting shoulder to shoulder.
Right, that's what I heard.
And all because of, they respect Man One, they respected Crew West, and everybody knew they came together, under the mutual love of graffiti and the art form that is, and so that was pretty epic. Anyway, enough about that, dude. Graffiti the City, like I love the brand, man. Now, where can people find you online? Because it's graffitithecity.com, right?
Yeah, graffitithecity.com. Shit. I mean, Graffiti the City, everything. I mean, fuck, IG, Facebook, everything. Like, the whole shit. Yeah, man. You know what's crazy is like I was looking forward to fucking Miami this year, man. Like, it's like, but it's cool, man. Like, taking a break and shit like that. Like taking a break was really cool also, you know what I mean? Like, because it's madness over there, as you know, like,
madness. It was incredible. I love it. I love the madness.
Big ups to my boy Drew One. He was out there fucking doing his thing. He's a rebel, man. He was out there causing destruction. But shout out to Drew One and Atomic. Those dudes, those are my boys out there that, every year we meet up, we fucking walk around and just whatever. It's mad. It's cool, man. It's a good vibe. When I first went out there, it blew my mind, man. Like, and I was like, man, this is the place. But it's funny because some lady one day, what is it called? The thing that they have every Thursday over here in downtown, the Art Walk. Yeah. I was out there one time and it was weird, man. This lady came up to me and she goes, hey, man, you own that brand? I was like, yeah. And she's like, you know what you should do? You need to go to Miami. And I was like, to Miami? And she's like, I go, you know what? I've heard of that. Like, Art Basel and stuff like that. She's like, yeah. She's like, but no. She's like, not Art Basel. She's like, you need to go to Wynwood. And I was like, all right, yeah, I've heard of that too. It's like, she's like, yeah. She's like, but don't go now. This is weird. And I never seen this lady ever again in my life. She's like, don't go now. She's like, wait 3 years. In 3 years, it's going to be full of graffiti. And it's going to be a lot of art.
Wow, she said wait 3 years.
Yeah. And I was like, all right. And I swear, man, I always kept that in my mind, but I didn't think about it till maybe like, what was it, like 2 years ago, maybe? Like I thought about that. I was like, fuck, that's crazy. That was exactly 3 years ago, like when she told me this. And she goes, right now there's graph, but not a lot. She's like, in 3 years, that place is going to be like, it's going to be overrun by graph. Like it's going to be the main shit. And I was like, fuck. I go, this lady hit it right on the nail. And I don't even know who the lady was, bro. I just out of nowhere, she came up to me. Like
she was a graffiti angel.
Right?
She was walking the streets and, you were paying attention. That's good.
Yeah, right? Like, and it was crazy because I still remember just listening to the lady, but I was looking at her, but I don't remember what she looked like. Like, it was weird. I don't know. It was one of those weird things, but
the patron saint of graffiti. I love it.
Something happened there, right? Like now that I think about it, I'm like, yeah, something fucking happened. You know what's funny is that I'm hearing that fucking this, and I knew this was going to happen. I'm pretty sure you probably know about this, but fucking the Silicon people are heading to fucking Miami. Like Silicon Valley is headed to Miami. I just heard.
Yeah.
Like, so a lot
Silicon
of those
Valley. Okay.
Valley is heading over there, man. Like that's going to be the new Silicon Valley. Like that's what I've been hearing. Huh? So
we'll wait 3 years and we'll go check it out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that's kind of crazy. I mean, I just heard about that, and I was just like, you know what? It makes sense because, if you really think about it, like Wynwood, it's like, fuck, people are buying property like a motherfucker out there. Like you could see the development going on over there. A lot of and that was the hood. I mean, that's just getting gentrified.
Right. No, exactly. Because that's the thing. I mean, the Goldman, Mr. Goldman, forget his first name, but I mean, his daughter runs it now because he's dead, but but he owned a bunch of those buildings, a bunch of property down there, and he just knew that artwork would help to turn the tide there, and he just started letting people come down there and paint. Yeah. And that's that's what kind of turned the boat around for Wynwood,
Yeah, because I think LA should be like that, but then again, it's like LA and Miami is two different fucking worlds, man. I think it almost seems like, and man, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm wrong for saying this, but it's like I think a lot of art gets done in LA, and then in Miami, a lot of art gets sold. You know what I mean? Like there's more buyers maybe in Miami than there is in LA. LA is where they make the art, and maybe it gets sold in Miami. I don't know if that's even.
No, I think it's a complicated thing, and the relationship, and the dynamic, and the symbiotic kind of dynamic between those.
Because you deal with a lot of people like artists and stuff like that. I don't really know that whole part of it.
Yeah, it's a complicated issue, no doubt. But God bless the artists that are selling. But LA needs to get its act together in terms of really creating a stated policy and intention for embracing public art in a deliberate way that could really help the city.
What do you think about the future, of art in LA? I mean, just overall, like, what do you think is?
I'll tell you, man. I mean, it's an interesting question. Certainly, COVID has squashed a lot of the small, medium tier galleries. I mean, the big blue chip galleries, the Gagosians and the Paces, whatever, will do just fine. But the reality is a lot of those smaller galleries were in the red anyway, barely surviving. And then COVID came along and wiped them out. So they're not coming back anytime soon. So, yeah. So what does that mean for artists? Well, I think initially it's a tough pill to swallow. But the reality is most of the artists probably weren't even represented by those galleries anyway, or showing in those galleries anyway. The future of art in LA is probably not too dissimilar maybe from the future of art in other cities. And really, the bottom line is that artists have to accept responsibility for their own destiny and their own fate, and not rely on galleries, and not rely on agents, and not rely on advisors, and just fucking handle their shit. put some fucking big boy pants on
Right, you're right.
and get serious
Take
about
it to the
handling
street,
your
right? Like,
yeah.
like,
Well, yeah. If you want to call yourself a professional artist, then act like a professional business person. And, given everything we were saying earlier about the technologies and the tools that are democratized, 16-year-old kid could become a millionaire because he can start a website. He's focused on it. Artists can be global too. They can be selling all over the world with print on demand technology. They can print and make merch in a cost effective way. Yes, they're going to have to put the paintbrush down and learn a little bit about SEO and be on their shit and understand what their time is worth and bill and accordingly and stop accepting exploitative pro bono jobs for exposure bucks. And, like a lot of times artists are their own worst enemies, in terms of trying to make a living. This idea of the starving artist is, in my view, there's nothing romantic or sexy about anyone starving. This idea of like the starving artist, oh, it's romantic, it's exciting. No, it isn't. Fucking starving is starving. Fuck you for embracing that bullshit myth anyway. So I think, artists just have to stand up and start advocating for themselves. They have to start looking out for each other. They need to lock arms and they need to be a unified front against exploitation. They need to understand their real value. And they also need to understand what their time is worth. Figure out if you want to make $100,000 a year, great. That's a lot of money. Great. Then figure out how many hours a week that you need to be working and figure out what the dollar is. At $37 an hour or something? Okay. Then start charging $37 an hour for your time. If you can sell 40 hours a week for 52 weeks, that's $100,000 or whatever it is. So, I mean, the point is that, what's the future of art in LA? Well, I think it's rooted in innovation and paradigm shifts and shattering of the status quo. Artists need to accept responsibility for their fate and start kicking ass, because the beautiful thing about artists is that artists are magicians. I mean, they create something out of nothing. So if they're born innovators, so if they could just get out of their own way and accept the fact that, as a business person, yeah, you got to start doing shit that you don't want to do. Nobody wants to pay taxes. Nobody wants to fucking pay bills. Nobody wants to do the books. Nobody wants to, that's just part of being a grown up in business.
That's one thing that flipped my fucking wig. I was like, man, like, what the fuck? Like, I got to pay taxes and all this shit. Like, I was like, fuck, I wasn't used to that. Well, in the music shit, yeah. But I mean, just like the whole clothing and stuff, I was like, holy shit, like, this is crazy. Like, it's just like stuff that I knew I had to do, but I mean, maybe, I don't know. It didn't want to sink in for a while, but then I guess I was like, fuck it. I guess this is business, if you want to do business.
It's called work for a reason. It's called work for a reason. And hopefully we all get into a business that we love to do because that's what we want to do with our time. But there's always a flip side. If you're going to be a professional, then you've got this other administrative shit that you got to do. It's just par for the course. Quit your crying. Just get with it. It is what it is. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a real thing.
Right.
And,
yeah. And it's just like, what's crazy? It's just like, so it's just like, pretty much this is like, it's tough. I mean, it's just tough when it's one person. So it's like, think about it. It's like, you got to deal with all that shit, like all that, like paperwork and all that. And then you got to go and it's like, maybe it's just kind of crazy for me. I mean, I try not to spread myself thin, but eventually it is going to happen.
You got to, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And, if you could carve out an hour a day just to handle the shit that you don't want to deal with, you just do every day, fucking exercise, like you taking your medicine, just get it done. That way, at the end of the month, you don't have a pile of shit that you hate, just Mount Everest getting bigger and bigger. And then the other thing I'll say real quick too is I feel like artists have to, we have to broaden our view of the business we're in. We're not just in the arts business, we're in the intellectual property business. And as soon as you start waking up to the fact that you're an intellectual property maker, that you create IP, then suddenly that changes your focus, because, if you're creating intellectual property, that's something that you can monetize over time. How do you make money? Because the goal is, right, to make money when we sleep, right? That's, if we can all make money when we sleep, then we're doing damn good, right? And intellectual property, being in the IP business, allows us to make money when we sleep, because we can license the usage and we can sell the rights and we can do all this stuff. Versus if I think I'm just a painter making canvases and I'm just selling canvases, then that you're just in the widget business. You're just like selling canvases, selling paintings. Okay, cool. But, are you taking a high res image of that photo of that image and keeping it in your database of imagery that you can create licensing revenue with, and and all these other things. So there's so many ways. If you're in the IP business, there's so many interesting ways of monetizing your work and innovating and thinking differently about how you make a buck. And they don't teach you this shit in art school. They don't teach you this stuff. Like, you got to figure it out. And so many people are aspiring to be in the blue chip 1% art world of the Paces and the Gagosians and, selling for $1 million auctions. Like, that's never happening. That's never happening. Get over it. If it happens to you, great. But
it's like a lot of people, they're too busy looking at what everybody else is doing, and they want to be on that level, but they're living in their time. It's like you're living in another time. So it's like, stay in your fucking lane, do what you do. And, if you work hard enough, you're not going to probably get to that same shit, but who knows, maybe even bigger, It's like, but I think that's the problem with a lot of people is they look at something else and they want to be that. And it's not happening. And then that kills them. They think that they failed, because
everybody thinks the grass is greener on the other side. It ain't. Yeah. It's just grass. It's just different grass. You still got to mow it and pull the fucking weeds.
You don't know how many times they had to water that grass to get that grass growing.
Right. Exactly. Listen, I mean, the beautiful thing about being an artist is that hopefully, right, you're enjoying the process of making your art.
Yes.
And that's the compensation. That's the payment. Like, you're feeding your soul. You're doing something you love. Like, if you enjoy the process of the work that you do, then that is compensation unto itself. And then if you can sell it and make money with it, then that's just gravy and icing on the cake and all that good stuff. But it's not going to sell itself. Like, you need to get serious about understanding how to be a business person and market your work and be smart about how you promote yourself and be diligent and rigorous and committed and disciplined on a regular basis. It's not easy. If it was easy, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah, no, this shit isn't easy, man, because I remember a long time ago, man, I mean, discouragement is a motherfucker, man. Like, and just for anybody out there that just is discouraged and gets like, fuck, like, this isn't going to work. I mean, myself, like, I used to get discouraged, man, really easy and be like, man, fuck this shit. Like, like self-pity and all this shit. But you know what? After a while, you kind of learn. Before I would be like, man, like, you know what? I'm discouraged, and now I'll last maybe like a fucking whole month, like discouragement. Then after a while, maybe 2 weeks, then 3 weeks, then it started getting less and less and less and less. When you go, that discouragement level drops till maybe like a fucking second in a day. Like, you know what I mean? And that's where you kind of want to get it. You want to get that discouragement level to like, where you're not even thinking about that shit, because the minute that you it's really easy to think about that discouragement and get stuck right there, and then you're like, now you're just like, boom, discouragement all across. And I think for me was, thank God that, it's like I just kind of learned how to like, fuck, like, don't get stuck on that shit, because that shit will kill you. It will fuck you up. Like,
it will kill you for sure. I agree with you. And the other thing about it is that it will kill you, but it also is just par for the course. If you're not failing, you're not trying. If you're not striking out, you're not swinging for the fences. Like, I mean, it comes with the territory. If you're serious about fucking knocking it out of the park, you're going to strike out a bunch of times. And, and that just comes with the territory. Javie Lopez, I tell you what, brother, you are one of my favorite people. I just love chopping it up with you, chatting it up, man. Like, we are killing it right now. Like, we were an hour and a half. Like, I just looked up and holy shit, I got a hot date in 20 minutes. I got to get out of here. So I tell you what, before we sign off, brother, first of all, thank you for coming. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down and chop it up with us.
Shit, likewise.
I so look forward to next year when we're vaccinated or whatever it is, and we get through this and you and I can hang again, whether it's in Miami or Decon or something else and something new. I want to come to the studio. I want to come. We just need to like hang more is really what it boils down to. But I'll tell you what, though, for the listeners, one last time, please shout out to your socials. Tell them where they can find you online.
You can find me at graffitithecity.com, Graffiti the City IG. Just shit, man. Look up Graffiti the City and you'll find everything. Especially on IG. We're really active on IG, mostly. Facebook, we're also active, but mostly IG. Find us on IG, Graffiti the City, spelled Graffiti the City. And shit, man, I just want to say to you, man, thank you for everything that you've done for me, man, because you've done a lot, bro. Like I always like, man, I want to talk to Scott and be like, man, like I want to thank him for this, that. But it's like, fuck, I never get to talk to you. But now that I have you right here, I just want to thank you because you're a big part of our movement and a lot of things because you put me in like positions where I wouldn't be able to get to, you know what I mean? So I just want to say thank you. Man one and you, bro, and everybody involved in everything you guys do, bro. Like, man, I got love for you guys, man. Like,
Oh man, thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much. Love, love, love. I mean, we're all basically cut from the same cloth, right? I mean, we share a common passion for putting positive energy into the world and making art and celebrating artists and lifting artists up. And so it's my honor to know you and for us to collaborate and do the things that we do together. And I appreciate those kind words. Thank you very much. Man, I tell you, it's crazy. Now listen, before we go, shout out for your artist one last time.
Dalia Coronado, you could find her look up Dalia Coronado on IG. Actually, she goes by something else on IG, but you could also look up Rama, Sierra the Field. He's on IG also. What is Dalia Coronado's? Man, look out for Dalia Coronado. It's Dalia This Official. That's her IG. Really dope music, man. Man, I'm putting everything, man. I'm not holding back. Back in the day, I would hold back on music, man. Like, nah, I'm gonna save this beat for myself or for somebody else. But nah, man, like everything is all Dalia Coronado. It's like it's her time, and we're gonna make this shit happen. And big ups to my boy Rama. He's also doing it. You can look him up at Sierra the Field. He's doing great music, man. He's probably one of the dopest fucking lyricists that I've ever worked with. Shout outs to my boy Spons. Man, big up to Saints, my boy Saints. Look him up at One Saints. He's also a dope ass artist that I work with, and he's a good artist, a graph writer. Been knowing him for a while and been smashing with him. And man, there's so many people, man. Like, man, thank Crew West. Fuck, man. Like, it's like Man One, fucking everybody, man. All you guys, man. Not Real Art, shit. I just want to say thank you to you again, man. Like, but seriously, man, like you guys are family, man. You guys treated me good with, man, like 100, and fuck, man. I hope to do more things with you guys. And
oh hell yeah, we've had some fun. We've done some good stuff, and we're gonna do more.
Whatever you need, man. Shit, I'll do whatever, man. I got you guys, man. Like,
I just want you to come out with some dad caps because that's my style.
You got it, dad caps.
Yeah, okay. So let's make. That's my style, the dad cap. And I didn't even know it was called dad caps till the guys at Secret Walls. I walked up to their booth. And I was like, oh, yeah, young hip guy, at the booth. I'm like, yeah, check out some hats. And he's like, oh, I'm like, oh, I like this one. He's like, oh, you like the dad hat. I was like, the dad hat? What the fuck is that? He's like, that's what it's called. I was like, oh, shit, I guess I'm not cool anymore. It's the dad hat,
Yeah, the dad hats are cool. I don't wear dad hats. I mean, the only reason why I don't wear the dad hats is it's like, I think I probably wore one at one time, but then I didn't like the fit. But
that's not your shit. The shit you're wearing right now looks fucking dope on you. It looks good on your head, and they fit your head. Like that is the shit right there. But I can't rock that. That's just unfortunately, if I wore that, you saw me, you'd be like, "What's that white boy doing, man? Like what the fuck?"
Nah, dude. You have more of a right to wear one of these than I do, man. Shit, like it's like So I mean, but no, the dad hats are cool. Those are universal. Girls could wear them and everything. But yeah, you know what? The dad hat. I am coming out with the dad hat. It's like
okay, all right.
That's for sure.
You heard it first right here on Not Real Art. Looking forward to the drop, the dad hat drop. Javie Lopez, you're the best, brother. Much love. Love to the fam.
Likewise, man. Shit, man. Got love for you guys, man. Thank you very much for having me, man.
We'll do this again, brother. Peace out.
Alrighty, peace.
Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to like this episode, write a review, and share with your friends on social. And if you haven't already done so, please press the subscribe button and follow us on Instagram at Not Real Art World. If you're an artist, be sure to apply for our 2021 artist grant at notrealart.com. Sourdough out.